guys, what is up? It is Pedersen_40 here, bringing you another video, and this is kind of a special video, as it is my very first FHM Sits video, standing for Franchise Hockey Manager Sits. Franchise Hockey Manager Sits is basically a franchise mode in NHL 20, but only franchise mode, and you can't watch or play the games. And while that sounds bad, it's actually a lot more detailed than the franchise mode, and it's cheaper. So you can find it at Out of the Park Development, who also makes the Out of the Park Development or Out of the Park baseball games, which are slightly more popular. So if you want to go check them out, you can. And so I will be doing my very first What If video today, and it is called What If Gretzky Was Not Traded to the Canes. So basically, I'll be hopping into 1987, as you can see at the top here. It is September of 1987, and seeing what Edmonton does if Gretzky isn't traded. How well they do, how well Gretzky does, how his career shapes up, stuff like that. So sit back, get your popcorn, and enjoy the show. Before we start, I'm going to check Edmonton's lines to make sure that Gretzky is there, and he is. It says he has excellent chemistry with Curry, very good chemistry with Coffey, and good chemistry with Tekkonen. So that's very accurate to real life. So let's just see what they're... Oh, no, wait, I can't because I'm unemployed. So I will just be going kind of year by year, and I'll be kind of giving you the update. If anything like absolutely shocking happens, then I'll let you know. But first, we'll just head to opening night. Okay, so for our first stop here, we'll be looking at the season preview from the NHL, and the Cup favorites appear to be Edmonton. It says their strength is goalie, left wing, center, and right wing, and they have no weaknesses. However, both defense is kind of neutral, and their outlook is win now. GM is still Glenn Sather, led by center Wayne Gretzky, who's 26 now, and is 5 stars in both of them. He finished last year with 183 points in 79 games, and that was the year after he broke the points records and the assist records with 215 and 163, so mind-boggling stuff. They expect to be challenged by Cliff Fletcher's Calgary Flames, whose weakness, however, is goalie, which will probably hold them back, and Montreal, whose weakness is definitely not goalie because they have Patrick Roy. Washington stands out as a dark horse, although they seem to have weaknesses at all of their forwards. But they do have Scott Stevens, who's really good in this game. They think Gretzky will win the scoring title. Lemieux has a shot, though. He got 107 points last year. And then also Steve Yzerman has a shot. All three of them are 5 stars in both. Ray Bourque is generally considered the top defenseman in the league, along with Chris Chelios and Scott Stevens. I'm a bit surprised Paul Coffey isn't there. And then Patrick Roy is considered the best netminder. Clint Malarchuk. Now there's a name. And Kelly Hrudey. And I'm a bit surprised Grant Fury is not there as well. So that's the season preview. So I'll see you at opening night. Okay, guys, so sorry, I forgot that since I'm unemployed, I won't be getting any game notifications or anything. So I actually sim past opening night. So here are the early standings here. Edmonton has won 2 of 3 games. And so if you're into those kind of stuff, you can just kind of quickly look at that. All right, let's move on. And here we have our very first email about Gretzky. So the Oilers won 13-1 over the Boston Bruins, and Gretzky got 7 goals and 2 assists for 9 points in that game. So he was just on fire. Other news is Yari Curry had a big name as well, 7 assists in that same night. So we know how Gretzky got all those goals. And then Mary Lemieux also has a 5-game goal streak. So that's other news. And here we are, guys, at the end of the regular season. I simmed, unfortunately, a little bit into the playoffs. It just simmed too fast for me to stop it. So there's the playoff tree if you want to quickly look at it. We have a huge rivalry here between Montreal and Quebec, but Montreal easily won 4-0. Hartford and Buffalo are tied at Game 7. Pittsburgh beats the Islanders in 5 games. That is good for Edmonton, as Islanders are still really good. So Flyers win 4-2 over the Rangers. Detroit is tied with the North Stars 3-3. Chicago sweeps Toronto. Calgary beats Winnipeg 4-2. And Edmonton is ironically tied with LA in the first round, Game 7 here. So there's that. Let's look at the standings. So Gretzky got 204 points, 95 goals, so breaking the record by 13, and 109 assists. So an amazing year for him. He obviously leads in goals, though, although Mario Lemieux also broke the goals record. No, he didn't. Sorry, only Gretzky did. I thought Lemieux might have. So those guys got really good. So it was Gretzky and then Lemieux with 192. So he was pretty good, And then Mike Bullard, surprisingly, of Calgary. And that's surprising considering he only got 54 and 57 last time. And then we have a Islander, Pat LaFontaine, with 129. And Jari Kurri gets 120. So there that is. In the standings, wow, Minnesota finishes tops in the Norris division with only 75. Meanwhile, Montreal gets 118 in the Adams to lead that. Pittsburgh gets 99 in the Patrick to lead that, and Calgary gets 121 in the Smythe division, and Edmonton finishes second there. So in the entire league, Edmonton managed to finish third behind Montreal and Calgary, who won the President's Trophy. And it looks like Toronto somehow made the playoffs, and they got swept. And it looks like they made the playoffs despite all of their positions being weaknesses and having a massive losing record. They still got in the playoffs somehow, I think at the expense of either Washington or New Jersey. And then Vancouver, unfortunately, finished dead last in the league. So now that you've seen that, let's continue through the playoffs here. So it appears that in the second round, Edmonton will be facing Calgary and will be heading to a Game 7. So I'm going to use Commissioner Mode to take over the Oilers and go watch the game. Okay, guys, so I just couldn't stand to miss this game against Calgary. Game 7. So if you want to look at the standings here to see who won and got on to the next round. Montreal defeated Hartford 4-2. Pittsburgh took out Philly 4-2, and Minnesota and Chicago are still tied 3-3, as well as Calgary and Edmonton. Edmonton managed to pull away there from LA. So I can't miss this. So let's watch the game. Looks like Gretzky's playing with Messi and Kurri, despite the fact that Messi is considered a grinder. Gretzky's a grinder. All of them are grinders, apparently. All right, but let's continue on to that. Okay, so we got Grant Fuhr in net. And then they got Doug Dadswell. Alright, so it looks like their goalie's playing better, but alright, let's do this. And here we go. Calgary's got it. Tipped in front. Mullins scores. It's 1-0 Calgary here. As you can see, though, Edmonton is out shooting them massively, 11-3. Doug Dadswell is playing really well. Okay, guys, so we are at the end of the first period. Edmonton is tripling Calgary in shots, 15-5. Dadswell is standing on his head, but Calgary's still up 1-0. We saw Edmonton has 33 seconds left on a power play, so let's see if they can convert on that. Oh, here we go. McTavish, save, pits it up, back to Kurri. Kurri blast one, blocked. All right, Calgary's got it back. Oh, no. Edmonton gets it back. McTavish shoots, deflect. Kurri scores, big goal. Assisted by Craig McTavish, a big goal by Jari Kurri. Good job. So that's just over a minute into the second period. Edmonton finally getting rewarded for all those shots they have. Oh, here we go. Calgary gets it, and it's a goal for Jamie McCoon. Never heard of him. All right, looks like Calgary's up 2-1. Okay, and we are at the end of the second period. Calgary's starting to catch up to Edmonton in shots, but Dadswell is still playing better than Fuhr. And so Edmonton only has one period, and if they can't manage to tie this up, the series is over. Oh, Edmonton gets it. Messi to Kurri. Save. Gretzky. Kurri scores again. Oh, that one's assisted by Gretzky too. A big goal by Kurri. Curry's coming in clutch. Oh, no. Flames get it right back. Here lets it go grab by Gretzky. Finds Huddy. Nope. Calgary gets it back. Brian Propp, I think. Yeah, Brian Propp gets that. 3-2. Edmonton's season might be over here. Oh, they're really pressing hard here with the shots. But can't seem to get one past Dudswell. That's swell right now. Could Edmonton get a last-second goal? Could they do it? Oh, my goodness! Calgary gets the extra attacker, and they score into the open net. Mike Billard, and that'll do it for the first season. Really unfortunate. Oh, and it looks like Calgary won the Stanley Cup. All right. Well, that sucks. I really actually thought that we would be able to get it, but it does not look like. Man, and look at this draft. Man, look at this Hall of Fame draft class. Jeez, this one's loaded. I've never had it before where I actually had a hard time picking 4 players, but I will here. All right, so it looks like I can't look at the award nominees. They've been named, so let's just go through them. Okay, so let's start with the Hart Trophy, who was unsurprisingly given to Gretzky. And he got, again, 95 goals, breaking the goals record with 109 assists, 204 points in 80 games, so unsurprisingly he won. Conn Smythe goes to Mike Billard, who was 3rd in scoring, and Calgary obviously won the cup, so there you go, he gets Conn Smythe. Patrick Roy gets the Vezina, and he performed really well there if you look at the stats. 45 wins, and that's only 3 off the record that Martin Brodeur later sets, and only 2.06 goals against average and .922 save percentage. Norris Trophy, Paul Coffey was actually going for this one, but looks like he lost it to Larry Robinson, who got 93 points in 70 games, 37, only 3 stars both. Man, he had a really great year. Gretzky gets the Ted Lindsay Award as well. You know his. Flames coach wins the Jack Adams Award. They got a 60-19-1 record, so you can understand why. The All-Stars for this, let's see here. So 4 out of the 6 on the first team were Oilers. So they got Paul Coffey, Mark Messier, Wayne Gretzky, and Harry Curry. So Curry got 120 points, Gretzky 204, Messier only 79, and Paul Coffey 113. Jeez. And then there's the second team. Andy Mood is on that, so I guess he played better than Fuhrer, who didn't play all that much. It says Mood got in 62 games, so that's interesting. Mark Messier wins the Mark Messier Award. Islanders Potvin gets the Bill Masterton. Pierre Turgeon, Lady Bin. Patrick Roy wins Jennings. Patrick Roy gets Roger Kreuzer Saving Grace Award for the top percentage in the National Hockey League. That's not around anymore. Wayne Gretzky gets the plus-minus award. What was his plus-minus? Plus 62. That's pretty good. He obviously gets Art Ross and the Rocket Richard. T. Carbonneau is the Selkie winner. Cliff Fletcher gets GM of the Year. He's GM of the Flames. And Pierre Turgeon gets the Calder winner. He got 105 points in 77 games. That kid's going to be good. And he ends up being good. Alright, so let's move to the start of the next year. Or let's just move to July 1st here. Okay, so some guys that will be joining the NHL this year: Tony Amount, Rod Brindamore, Pavel Bure, Timu Solani, Sergei Zubov, Matt Sundin. And there are no expansion teams or anything like that. So Esa Tikkanen dumps his agent. That's interesting. And then Edmonton actually made some minor trade. They got Dennis Smith, who sucks, for Dan Dorsterd, who's an older version of the sucky Dennis Smith. So, not a big one. So, Esa Tikkanen, it looks like he's a free agent, and he just got a new agent. So, bad news. Mark Lamb actually comes to Edmonton. He ended up, I think, Mark Lamb got traded. So, they got these 2 guys. So, that does not seem to have been a fair trade, but I'm not GM, so. Okay, so it looks like Bobby Clark got the Hall of Fame thing. Brad Park is an inductee as well. Ted Lindsay gets in, and then Doug Moans. I don't agree with that, but So those 4 get the Hall of Fame call, and I agree with 3 of them. So that's pretty good for this game. Actually, a decent trade went down. Gary Galley and Steve Duchesne got traded for each other. So he's basically like a 2-year older version of Duchesne. So I say Washington or LA wins that. I think it's LA that got him. So, alright, so we're just in the preseason now. I will sim to opening night, and I will not skip it. Oh, goalie John Casey is on waivers. Ooh, 3 stars both. Oh, Gretzky's out day to day as well. He has a sore ankle. So unfortunate. So we're at opening night. So let's just look at the teams here. So here are all the teams going into this. Edmonton, same as last year, except they have a different GM, Bill McMillan, instead of Len Sather, because I replaced Len Sather as GM when I did that whole takeover thing in the playoffs, and I guess they replaced him with someone else. So it looks like Calgary, their weakness is still goalie, and I thought last year that would hold them down, but it looks like it did not. Who did they have in goal? How is goalie a weakness? They have a 25-year-old 4 stars on both counts, who got 54 wins last year, breaking the wins record. How can you say goalie's a weakness? Man, this team's looking good. Jeez. All right, let's look at the Edmonton team as well going into the new regular season. So if you sort it by ability, Gretzky still first, followed by Curry, Messier, Fuhr, Moog, McTavish, Glenn Anderson, Kevin Lau, Esa Tikkanen, Dale Hunter, Steve Smith. What is his name? Charlie Huddy? Yeah, Charlie Huddy. That's Colin Patterson, Mo LeMay, and then it just kind of goes down from there. So that's interesting to see. It doesn't look like their lineup has been changed at all, although I'm a bit surprised where Paul Coffey actually is gone. Bit of a surprise move. And I'm wondering how long it'll be before Edmonton moves either Fuhr or Moog. Probably Moog. Probably Moog because Fuhr's better. So I'm wondering how long it'll be before he gets traded. So where did Coffey go? Did he go to Pittsburgh? Yeah, so Coffey's in Pittsburgh now, so it looks like the game automatically traded him. It's weird. So anyway, let's continue here. So here we are a little bit after the trade deadline, and it looks like Edmonton's doing great. They got 103 points, leading the Campbell Smythe division, and that's leading the league. Detroit's up in the Campbell Conference, and after Minnesota gets to the second round last year, it looks like they're last, followed by Chicago, who faced them in the second round last year, ironically. So it looks like the Norris division is definitely where you want to play, because none of these teams are very good. Pittsburgh is also up there too, 85 points. They're third behind Edmonton, and then also Calgary is still up there. So let's look at the complete lead standings. So Edmonton is first, Calgary's second, Pittsburgh's third, Montreal's fourth. It's kind of like the teams you would expect. LA is sixth. Alright, and then now let's look at the stats for the players. It'll let me do that. Yep, it will. So Gretzky has 64 points. Lemieux is 5 back. Gretzky has 149 points. He also leads the league in shots and power play goals. And then there's also Curry, who leads the league in face-off percentage. That's weird. I don't recall him taking face-offs. So it looks like in every major thing that Gretzky's ahead of, except assists, who he leads with 85. It looks like Lemieux is second in, just about everything, even shots. So it'll be interesting to see if Lemieux will be able to catch up. Oh, so it looks like Brett Hall stayed with Calgary and Teemu Selanne moved to St. Louis. So he was not taken by Anaheim. Intriguing. Alright, so let's move on to the end of the year here, and we'll see let's move to the Stanley Cup Playoffs here. Okay, guys, so we are at the playoffs, so let's look at how Edmonton and Gretzky did. So it looks like Edmonton will be first in the league, and Calgary is still second, and Pittsburgh is still third, and Montreal is still fourth. So it looks like the standings are basically the same the way we left them, except the Rangers passed Detroit and LA. And yeah, Boston's still 17th, Vancouver's still 21st, Minnesota and Chicago are still there along with Toronto. So yeah, the standings didn't really change much from just before the trade deadline. And now let's look at the stats, the player stats for the year. Let's see how well Gretzky did. So Gretzky got 82 goals, not as good as the year before. And then Lemieux finished second. Gretzky got 96 assists for 178 points. And Lemieux finished second in points as well as shots by only 2. And Lemieux actually ended up passing Gretzky in power play goals. And Messier passed Curry along with Rick Meagher, Adam Creighton, and D. Carbonneau for face-off percentage. So that's cool. Let's look at the goalie leaders now. I forgot to do that at Trade Deadline. So let's look at how the goalies did. Vernon finished first in wins. Andy Mood was second. Losses, Minnesota North Stars guy. Ties, OT losses. Goals against, we shouldn't see the Edmonton guys here. No, you don't see him. Yeah, you don't see him for a while. Goals against average, Fuhr and Mood are second and third respectively. Save percentage, you don't find them until way down the list here. Yeah, no, you don't. You can't even find them on the list. It's a bit surprising. So shutouts, Mood, it has 3, so he's tied for third. And then, so also games played, Mood had 58. And then minutes played, Mood had 3,402 for 8th. Alright, so let's sim for a few days here until we have our playoff bracket. Okay, guys, so here's the playoff bracket. So we got Buffalo facing Montreal, Quebec versus Hartford, Islanders versus Pittsburgh, Washington versus New York, Chicago taking on Detroit, Toronto taking on St. Louis, Winnipeg taking on Edmonton. Let's see if Winnipeg can finally defeat Edmonton. And then LA will deal with Calgary. So I predict Edmonton will face Calgary in the second round. I predict St. Louis will face Detroit. Let's say the Rangers take on Pittsburgh. And let's say Quebec takes on Montreal, just for fun. So those are my predictions. Let's see if I am right. I'll just go to next week. Okay, so the computer decided to ignore me when I told it to let me just sim a week, and it decided to sim until the conference finals. So I was right, Montreal won. I was right, Quebec won. I was right, Pittsburgh won. I was wrong, Washington won. Detroit won, St. Louis won, Edmonton won, and Calgary won. So I was right with all those. So I was almost right completely. And then Calgary actually swept Edmonton again. So Calgary's like our new, or Calgary's Edmonton's new kryptonite. St. Louis beat Detroit, so they're taking on each other there, St. Louis and Calgary. Washington is actually facing Washington took on Pittsburgh and won. Montreal defeated Quebec in that big rivalry again. So it's Washington versus Montreal, and then St. Louis and Calgary over here. So let's just see who wins. Okay, so Montreal ended up taking on Washington and winning. And then Calgary swept the Blues, and then Calgary took on Montreal and won. So if you look at this, guys, this is a record. Calgary did not lose a game in that entire playoffs. They swept LA, swept Edmonton, swept St. Louis, and swept Montreal. That has never happened before in NHL history. That's kind of cool to see. So Calgary, for the second straight year, Stanley Cup champions. So far, Edmonton is not doing too hot. So let's move ahead here to the awards. So Curry ended up getting on the first team. Gretzky did not. Lemieux surpassed him, but Gretzky got on the second team with Brent Hall and Luc Robitaille. And then there's also Steve Smith, mates for Edmonton, and Andy Moog. So Edmonton coach gets Coach of the Year. Pittsburgh Penguins Coffee is the Norris winner. He got 97 points in 74 games. Joe Sakic gets the Calder. Jim Delaveau gets GM of the Year. Ron Francis gets Selke. Wayne Gretzky gets Rocket Richard. He wins Art Ross. John Tonellini is Plus Minus Award winner. Greg Stefan gets the Roger Crosser Saving Grace Award for the save percentage. Andy Moog gets the Jennings Trophy. Brett Hall gets Lady Byng. Peter Stastny, Bill Masterton. Gretzky wins Mark Messier Leadership Award. Lemieux gets Ted Lindsay. Vezina goes to Clyde Malarchuk. Conn Smythe Trophy goes to Mike Billard. And Hart Trophy goes to Lemieux. So there's that. So let's just kind of hop ahead here to the next year and let's see if Edmonton can finally get a championship. So, other news here, Dave Hunter actually retired on the Oilers, so that's kind of important. And the new players include Jaromir Jagr, Martin Brodeur, Adam Foote, and Keith Tkachuk. So, it'll be cool to see those guys hop into the NHL, see how well they can do. And so, let's just continue to the next year here. Actually, guys, I was simming, but then a massive trade went down. So, the Rangers have reached a deal with Detroit, sending Ulf Dallin to Detroit. He's only 22 for Adam Oates, who's better, but he's 26. So I feel like New York wins this deal. But yeah, that's pretty cool. That's a pretty cool trade. And Adam Oates is ironically going to St. Louis, and yet Hall is not there. So Daryl Sittler gets Hall of Fame call. That's good. Andy Bathgate, Pete Mavelchuk, and Bill Barber. That's pretty good. Tony Esposito still isn't in. I hope he gets in next year, but overall, that's pretty good. Oh, and it looks like Bill Ranford is here. So the Canadians sent Chell Dallin for Bill Ranford. So instead of ending up an Oiler, he's going to end up a Canadian. That's pretty cool as well. Oh, and then more trade news, guys. Kevin Stevens just got sent to Philly in exchange for Murray Craven. It looks like they're about even. Although in real life that would have been a lopsided trade. Kevin Stevens was like near Hall of Fame worthy. But, you know, in the video game they're about equal. So, okay guys, so we are at opening day here. And it looks like Edmonton, they now have a weakness at right D. Goalie, and then the rest is still a strength. Calgary's weakness is still goalie, and yet they've won the Cups the past 2 years. So I don't know how reliable you can, well, rely on that. Pittsburgh, I am intrigued to see Pittsburgh's roster because they've been doing really well the last few years as well. It looks like they're rebuilding according to this, so let's see how good they are. Well, they still have Lemieux, they have Paul Coffey, they have Doug Hannon, Doug Bodker, but yeah, their goalies are the two worst players on their roster, so yeah, you can see where they'd be rebuilding. I don't know how well they're going to do this year. Obviously, though, I've been wrong plenty of times. I thought Calgary might sink due to goaltending, and yet they've won the past 2 cups, so don't know how reliable I am. So Gretzky, Curry, Messier, Fuhr, Moog, McTavish, Glenn Anderson, Essa, Tikkanen, Steve Smith are all still there. Oilers have basically the same roster. So, alright, so let's just move along here with the year. Oh, and it turns out Gretzky suffered an injury against the Canucks. He's expected to miss at least 4 weeks. And so he's going to be up for basically a month here to start the year. So bad news for the Oilers. And then Messi is suspended too. So the Oilers' offense here is kind of falling apart. Okay, guys, so we are now at the trade deadline. So let's look at the league standings here. First, Pittsburgh is actually first in the league, followed by Calgary, Montreal, St. Louis, Minnesota, and then you get down to Edmonton at 6. So they seem to be kind of falling here without Gretzky, throwing in the fact that all of their defense is now considered a weakness. The Kings are actually sitting outside of a playoff spot now. And so things are kind of already changing in this league. Detroit's lower as well. The only thing that has remained the same really is Pittsburgh, Calgary, Montreal are all still dominating. Meanwhile, let's look at the stats here. It should be Mario Lemieux who should be first in like all of them because Gretzky has been injured. Yeah, so he's first in goals. He is He's tied for like 10th in assists, and he's 5th in points. So Doug Gilmour has taken advantage of this to finish first, and Solani's second, so those two are just kind of combining and going off. Gilmour's second in goals as well, which is probably helping. Or in assists, sorry, and Solani's first in goals, so, man, or second in goals, and so that seems to be a really dynamic duo. Glenn Anderson is first in shorthanded goals, and that is the only time where Edmonton is leading in anything. Let's look at goalie leaders quickly here. And yeah, so Edmonton is not first in any major categories. It looks like Frank Pietrangelo and Dominic Hasek are kind of leading, and Hasek is now with the Canucks, which is interesting. And Andy Moog is third in goals against average. In save percentage, he is way down here, and he is tied for about 10th, like 11th maybe. And so in wins, he's 4th with 28. So overall, he's playing well. He's probably not going to win the Vezina, but he's playing all right. So let's just move on here to the Stanley place and see how the bracket shades out. Okay, guys, so here we have our playoff bracket. Buffalo will be taking on Montreal again, Hartford again, Quebec, Pittsburgh again, Islanders. Washington takes on New York, St. Louis takes on Detroit, Minnesota takes on Chicago again, Calgary takes on LA again, Winnipeg takes on Edmonton again. So I think it'll be similar. Montreal and Quebec will meet second round. Pittsburgh, Washington will meet second round. I'm going to say St. Louis faces Chicago second round, and Calgary faces Edmonton in the second round. And I think I think either Calgary or Pittsburgh will win the Stanley Cup trophy. So, but let's see how right I am. Okay, guys, so we are at the second round, and let's see how many predictions I got right here. So I was wrong. Buffalo defeated Montreal. Hartford took out Quebec, so I was wrong on all those. Pittsburgh managed to defeat Islanders, so I was right on that. And I was wrong about Washington versus the Rangers. The Rangers took them out in 7. Blues ended up taking out Detroit, so I was right there. Minnesota defeated Chicago. And in a massive upset, LA took out Calgary in the first round. And Edmonton managed to finish off the Jets there. So it'll be second round, Buffalo, Hartford, New York, Pittsburgh, Minnesota, St. Louis, and LA, Edmonton. So Edmonton will be facing Gretzky's new team, I guess, but except that Gretzky's not playing for them. So let's just go day by day here to see kind of who wins this series. So Hartford ended up taking out Buffalo in 6 games, and Pittsburgh ended up taking out New York, so it'll be Pittsburgh versus Hartford. St. Louis swept Minnesota, and so they will be moving on to face Edmonton, who barely managed to defeat LA in 7 games. So for the first time, Edmonton is roaring off to the conference final. And if they get to the Stanley Cup final, I predict they will be facing Pittsburgh. Alright, so let's see how this shades out. Okay, guys, so excellent news on our front. Pittsburgh surprisingly was taken to 7 games by Hartford, but they still ended up winning. Edmonton defeated St. Louis in 6 games, and I accidentally simmed 1 game, so Pittsburgh is up 1-0 on Edmonton so far in the Stanley Cup final. And Edmonton has officially won the Stanley Cup. They finally are champions, defeating Pittsburgh in 5 games. So that is great news. So let's look at the awards here. So first, All-Stars. Curry managed to get in for the Oilers again with only 58 points in 80 games, so scoring must be going down now. Coffey still had 114 in 70, so obviously not. Pietrangelo, ironically, I said that their goaltending was a struggle, and yet he made first team, so making me regret my words. Doug Gilmour, surprisingly, is second team and not first. Franchis beat him for first team, even though being less than a point per game. Gretzky gets the Conn Smythe. How well did he do in the playoffs? I would like to see. He got 103 points in 61 games. So let's look at, would it be in career stats? Maybe career stats. If I do game by game, that would take a while though. So anyway, he was good in the playoffs. I guess it's not going to tell me how good, which is unfortunate. So, but he won that. So Vezina goes to Frank Pietrangelo. Penguins, Paul Coffey. gets the Norris. Ron Francis gets the Hart Trophy. And then there's the Edmonton Crown champions. They won a 7-4 in the final game against Pittsburgh. John Cullen gets a Calder. Bob Pilford, Jam of the Year. Selkie, Craig McTavish. Maurice Rocker-Richard, Timu Solani. Blues, Doug Gilmore, Art Ross Trophy. Who is it? Brad McCrimmon gets the Plus Minus Award. Mike Vernon gets the Roger Crosser Saving Grace Award. Mike Vernon gets the Jennings. Solani gets the Lady Bean. Larry Murphy gets the Bill Masterton. Steve Eiserman gets the Mark Messier Award. Ted Lindsay goes to Ron Francis. And then St. Louis's coach gets the Jack Adams. So those are your awards. Let's sim to the next year here to see how it shades out. Okay, so for the new players for 90-91, Alfredson will be in the NHL, Osgood, and Lindros. So they're your new players for this year. So Lindros will probably win Rookie of the Year. Okay, so the Hall of Fame takes Gilbert Perreault, Mike Bossy, which is really good, and Steve Shutt. So I nominated all three of those players, so that's really good. Oh, and Bill Ranford has been put on waivers. It appears that it's not going well with Montreal. He's been playing in the AHL, where he has not been playing amazingly. So it turned out he was better off playing with Edmonton. So that's kind of cool. Alright, so let's go straight to so let's look at the standings first. So there's Edmonton. Weakness is still just their D-men. Jets have changed their logo, and their weakness is almost everything. Calgary, they now have no weaknesses, so finally goaltending is not considered a weakness. And then Pittsburgh, whose weakness is still goaltending. So let's look at the Edmonton team. It's probably going to look the exact same. Let's look anyway. So let's look at their roster. So yeah, there's still Gretzky, Messier, Curry, Fuhr, McTavish, Mood, Glenn Anderson, Esa Titinen, Kevin Lau. All those guys are still there. And then obviously Dale Hunter retired, so he's not there anymore. But other than him, it looks like their lineup is about the same than when we got there, with the exception of Paul Coffey as well. So let's head to the trade deadline. Okay, so we are at the trade deadline, and it looks like Edmonton is still in the playoffs, but they're all the way back to 10th. Looks like the Islanders are rising up again. Calgary is still first in the lead. They're not giving up that spot. Pittsburgh is still second, so those two are kind of still the reigning champions along with Edmonton, although it seems Edmonton has been declining the past 2 years. LA is now back here out of the playoffs, so we'll see if they're able to make it. Hartford's barely in as well. Quebec, Detroit. So those three teams who have been playoff mainstays for this entire video are now just barely hanging on, and then even the Jets too. Alright, and now let's look at player stats. See how well Gretzky's doing and the other Oilers. So goals, Mike Grunner is first, and Gretzky is tied for 10th with Cam Neely and Stepan Richer. He's also first in assists, so he's obviously first in points as well. He's second in shots. Gary Curry's first in plus minus. So Edmonton's kind of dominating here in terms of these stats, so that's pretty cool. Gretzky is doing pretty well, 116 points. Goalie leaders are Dominic Hasek, Mike Vernon, Ed Belfour seem to be the major leaders here, and Andy Moog is not first in anything. Alright, so let's move on to the playoffs. Okay, so we are now at the end of the year, and Edmonton finished 7th in the league with 90 points behind the Rangers, the Sabres, the Canadiens, the Capitals, and then the Flames and the Penguins are 1 and 2 in the league. And now let's look at the playoff bracket. So we got Hartford facing Montreal. Boston is actually in the playoffs against Buffalo. Islanders are taking on Pittsburgh. Rangers taking on Washington. Toronto's back in as well, facing Minnesota. Detroit taking on St. Louis. And then the same two matchups we've seen almost this entire video. LA versus Calgary. And Winnipeg versus Edmonton. So it'll probably be Edmonton defeating Calgary. It almost or Edmonton and Calgary winning. It almost always is. I think St. Louis and Minnesota will move on. I think Washington and Pittsburgh will move on. Buffalo and Montreal will also move on. Hey guys, so I was right for the most part here. It looks like so Montreal won, Buffalo won, Pittsburgh won, Capitals won, Minnesota won. So I was wrong here. Red Wings won, Flames won, and Oilers won. So I only got one wrong, which is pretty good. And then I accidentally sent one game for all these series. So Buffalo won it, Pittsburgh won it, Detroit won it, Calgary won it. So hopefully Edmonton can finally take out Calgary here, but we'll see. Okay, guys, so it looks like Montreal took down Buffalo in 7, Pittsburgh beat Washington in 5, Detroit beat Minnesota in 7, and then Edmonton was finally able to defeat Calgary in 6. And then I simmed one game each of the conference finals. Pittsburgh won theirs, and Detroit won theirs against Edmonton. So let's see if Edmonton can continue this run. And good news, guys, Edmonton will be continuing their reign of terror. They defeated Detroit in 6 games. And in other news, Pittsburgh took out Montreal in 7. So we will have a rematch of last year's Stanley Cup final. Hopefully Edmonton can take this one, although it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world if Pittsburgh did, as they have not won one yet in this video. Because it was Calgary dominating and then Edmonton. So Edmonton won in 6 games, their 2nd straight Stanley Cup championship. So that is all good news there. Just poor Pittsburgh, though. They have not been able to catch a break. First having to face Calgary, and then now Edmonton gets a turn. So, I don't know, but one of these times I'm sure Pittsburgh will probably take a cup as well. They usually, in real life, they won one this year, actually. 91 and 92. So, but they still win one year after. So let's look quickly at the awards, and then I think I'm going to call it for part 1 of this video. I thought I would get it done in all one video, but I did not also realize it would take this long. So, yeah, I think I'm just going to separate it into parts to cover his entire career. And, yeah, we'll just kind of go from there. So, All-Star first team, Paul Coffey made that for Pittsburgh, 95 points. Gretzky made it as well, 147 points. Curry made it with 83. And then no one from our team on the second team. Oilers, Pat McLeod gets the Conn Smythe. Never heard of it, but congrats. Mike Vernon wins the Vezina. Paul Coffey gets another Norris. Pavel Bure takes the Calder. Okay, so how good was his year? He got 65 and 78, which is not bad. Harry Sinden of the Boston Bruins got GM of the Year. Steve Yzerman got the Selke. Mike Gardner got the Maurice Rocket Richard. Our Ross Trophy goes to Gretzky. Plus minus award goes to Penguins' Doug Bodker. Frank Pietrangelo gets the Roger Crosser Saving Grace Award. Frank Pietrangelo gets the Jennings Trophy as well. Lady Bain Trophy goes to Joe Nenwi. Correct me if I'm wrong. Dave Taylor gets the Bill Masterton. Mark Messier Award goes to Dale Hunter. Ted Lindsay goes to Gretzky. Buffalo coach Ted Sater gets the Jack Adams. Okay. Hart Trophy goes to Edmonton, Wayne Gretzky. And then that's just Edmonton winning the cup. So let's look, one last thing before we go actually. Let's look at Gretzky's career accomplishments so far. So let's go to lines. Let's click on Gretzky. Let's go to... Well, actually, I want to see what the scouts say. Oh, no, they don't have any info. So, total so far, he has 1,010 games played in his career, 2,262 points, 1,410 assists, and 852 goals. So, that's in total between the WHA and the National Hockey League. So, in the NHL, he's got 930 games, 806 goals, 1,346 assists, and 2,152 points. And then in the playoffs, he has gotten total Stanley Cup playoffs. It's been really good. Like, if you include the Avco Cup playoffs, he's got just under more than double, like just under 2 points per game. Their first Stanley Cup victory, he won the Conn Smythe, so his numbers for that were 51 games and 24 or 51 points in 24 games, which is really impressive. And then for their second straight Stanley Cup win, 40 games in 22. So I thought I'd be able to check his awards, maybe when he retires, but not now, I guess. So he's 30. He's 30 now. So let's see how well he can do for the rest of his career. But anyway, guys, it's been a fun video. So I'll see you guys for part 2. Bye-bye.